Most Shopify stores are losing about 70% of their revenue by not focusing on the back end of their business. Most people aren't utilizing email and SMS and not leveraging the power of AI. In today's video, we're going to dive in and show you exactly what you need to do to help improve your ROAS 3 to 4x. If you already have some of this email and SMS stuff set up, I promise that today you'll learn something new and give you a new perspective on how to think about your email and SMS. So first and foremost, let's kind of lay the groundwork here a little bit before we get into this. And my goal by the end of this video is to help you conceptualize and think about your funnel in from start to finish, basically from the beginning of when you find a new customer to where you're nurturing and continuing to get repeat purchases. So let's kind of talk about first the customer journey touch points. Now, many of you may have a conceptual understanding of this and heard this before, but it's important to lay this as the foundation. So your customer journey touch points are important to understand because if you aren't thinking about where your customers come from and how they end up getting to a sale, then it's going to be difficult for you to figure out ways that you can either one, generate more revenue, or two, improve your return on ad spend, or just growing the business in general. And so there's four main key things we're going to focus on here in this video. And that is our organic traffic, our ads traffic, our email traffic, and our SMS or subscribers, right? There's four main core touch points we're going to focus on here. And it's important to understand that, many of you have heard the saying that it takes 7 touch points for someone to make a purchase, right? And so if we're not optimizing our strategy across all different places, then we're going to lose people along the way, right? They're going to kind of, if you think about it as like water flowing through a pipe, if there's gaps in the holes in the pipe, then you're going to be losing potential customers along that pipe as the water flows through. And so with organic, we want people to be seeing our content on social media. You want to be, publishing brand content. We'll be running ads and targeting people on, Meta or TikTok or, YouTube, right? And then on Klaviyo, we want to be making sure that we're capturing that data, right? And those people who either abandon cart or purchase or sign up for the email list, and we're nurturing them to make a purchase or an additional purchase or take us up on an offer. And the same with SMS, right? Utilizing SMS to help us generate more revenue, push promotions and offers throughout the year, and ultimately just provide a way for your customers to interact with you and build a relationship with your brand. These are all things that are very important, and all these things are done very differently, but they all play a role in helping those potential customers to turn into real customers and not lose out on the 70% of revenue that most Shopify businesses aren't able to capture properly, okay? So you may be able to recover a portion of that. My goal today is to give you a bit more insight into how you could recover a higher percentage of that, which is high leverage for you as a business owner, because if you can understand that there's just a few levers that you can pull that take minimal time on your end, then well, guess what? You've now grown your business with a very little amount of time investment, right? Which we all know our time is very valuable, right? So with that said, let's kind of talk a little bit about this customer journey and kind of look at an example here, okay? So we're going to start with, we're going to use Sally here as an example. So Sally, she's a potential customer. She's looking at social media content from her family and friends, and she engages with a Facebook ad, okay? She sees something that she really likes because the ad really speaks to her at that time, and she's been looking for this kind of product, right? And you can even imagine Sally as one of your potential customers and kind of think through, and I challenge you to think through your customer journey here as one of these examples. So Sally engaged with a Facebook ad. She decides to go to the website and she finds something that she really likes. So she adds it to the cart, right? But then she ends up purchasing. So through this whole process, she was a first-time purchaser, right? She went to the website from the ad, she added a product to cart, and then she purchased, right? It's a perfect new customer, right? But we all know that doesn't happen that way, right? There's so many other touch points that these potential customers have in order to get them to sale. Sometimes it takes a few days, a few hours, a few weeks, sometimes a few months, and even longer, because you're really trying to nurture them along the way. So let's look at a little bit of a different example here, okay? So let's say that Sally opts into the email list, right? She opted in because she was interested in the brand and she wanted to learn more about what they're all about. One day she gets an email and she opens their email. She clicks the email because she's interested in what they're promoting, because there was a 20% off sale that was going to end on Sunday, and she needed to buy a gift for her husband because it was his birthday, right? She adds the product to the cart and she forgets about it. She gets distracted because one of her kids needed her attention, and she closes her phone and she doesn't end up purchasing, right? So she's now added the product to cart, but she didn't finish checking out. There's so many of these instances where day to day, your potential customers all the time, if you're running ads on Meta or TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you're running ads, so many of these events happen where it's not even intentional that they don't check out. A lot of times it can just be distractions and things that are happening day to day, right? Maybe they're sitting in an appointment, they add the product to cart and they get called out and they got to go to their appointment, right? But if they're not reminded that they were looking at that product and they were going to purchase it in the future, then they're never going to end up purchasing, because the next brand or the next competitor that you're trying to compete against or earn their business from is going to take it from you if they've got a better back-end system and better, advertising, right? So then we've got another example, right, of Sally. And this is, again, like she's now had a few different touch points, right? Let's say that on this first example, she doesn't purchase, right? So she adds it to cart, she doesn't purchase. So then she opens an email, clicks the email, adds a product to cart, but she doesn't purchase. So then Sally has a third interaction now, because she's already given her text met or her phone number because she added that at the checkout, right? And one day, a few days later, she gets a text and she receives a text. She clicks the link because there's another offer and it was the last chance to get it. And she adds a product to cart because she still has to buy something for her husband. And then she does end up purchasing. So it's taken Sally a total of 3 different sessions for her to end up purchasing, right? In this example, I know in the very beginning on this one example, I did say that she did purchase, right? Let's just say she didn't, okay? These 3 different sessions she had has led her to the purchase. And there's way more complex, longer customer journeys than this. This is just to illustrate a point, right? If we don't understand how we're using all of our marketing channels from start to finish, we can't actively capture as much of that recovered revenue or that lost revenue that we're getting every month effectively. Okay. So, how do we maximize our return on ad spend? What can we do with email and SMS to really help with this? Well, some of you are already familiar with running abandoned cart emails. So those are very, very important, right? But really, there's stuff that we can do on the front end and the back end. Now, we're not going to focus too much today on the front end, but, as you guys know, on the front end, right, we can make better creative for ads, right? We can improve the creative. We can test different hooks. We could test different marketing angles. Maybe there's a product that you're advertising that is a food related product, right? You could focus one of the angles on the taste of the product, the taste profile and how it tastes, and also on how that product actually helps you achieve the results that you want. So maybe it's like getting healthier, right? That could be an example. On the back end, an example might be that you add an additional flow to your email on a specific segment of your audience that you've been neglecting, right? Or maybe it's a reactivation email flow, right? On the front end, maybe there's more social media content you could add. Maybe you guys don't make video content. Maybe you could make content on recording videos on showing orders being packaged, right? And then post it on social media as reels or TikToks. So there's lots of things that you can do to improve both these things, but I want to hone in on the email and SMS side of things on the back end, because I believe that the back end side of the business is where most e-commerce owners miss, and they miss revenue, because there are so many people, and I've seen this time and time again, working with multiple different brands, even our own brand with Gamenex. Well, we've been able to do $350,000 a month in revenue. That's one of our biggest months that we've had. And one of the biggest things that I noticed during that time is we had such a low percentage of our revenue coming from email and SMS a couple of years ago, where I was like, we need to figure this out, because we're spending more and more money on ads, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a day. And we're continuing to marginally decrease our ROAS to increase our reach with our advertising and not focus enough on what do we do with all the visitors we're already sending to the website, right? And so there came a point where like we couldn't maintain our business, and maybe you're in this situation right now. We can't maintain our growth because we have to achieve a certain ROAS to obviously be above break even and reach our KPI, right? So the back end became a lot more of a focus, and we started looking into what we could actually do to improve our ROAS on the front end, right? And using a platform, for example, like Triple L, or if you guys use Northbeam, you can actually track the customer journeys a bit more in depth and know where they're coming from. So you can see that they went from a Facebook ad, then see a Google ad, then an organic social post, then an email, and then they purchased, right? You can see that customer journey fully, just like we did up here. But I don't want to go down that road too much. That's a whole other video I could make on that. But what I want to point out here is that we notice more opportunity in the back end, and I've seen this more and more with e-commerce owners and brand owners, is that they focus a lot on the front end, but not enough on the back end. So this is the truth, okay? New customers always will cost more. Existing customers will always cost less. And potential customers are the highest opportunity. The spread in between the new customers and existing customers, there's a lot of people that sit in the middle of that we can capitalize on, okay? So there's a few tools that we can use. One of the tools that we've also come to use and frequently recommend is a tool like OpenSend, where all of your website visitors, sometimes those website visitors, you're not able to capture an email or any sort of contact information. And platforms like OpenSend allow you to capture identities, is what they're called, where you're capturing their information. If certain information matches up with another list they've opted into, you can use their information and message them and say, send them an email saying something like, thanks for visiting the website. Instead of thanks for subscribing, it's thanks for visiting the website, right? And that way you can then send them into an email flow or an SMS flow as well. And that's where you're maximizing and squeezing as much as you possibly can from all the ad spend you're already spending on ads. Another way you can do this too is by utilizing abandoned cart SMS and using conversational AI to do that. So actually having real conversations with your customers and your potential customers to help them move closer and closer to the sale. So you start to see here that, you have a tech stack where you're using Klaviyo for your abandoned carts, your email sequences, right, and your flows. You've got conversational AI with your SMS. You're using tools like OpenSend to capture more data points on the website visitors that land on your page and funnel those into your SMS and email. You're able to capture so much more information, okay? So let's kind of look at this, in a few different scenarios here, okay? So again, you can break this down for yours specifically, all right? But let's say we're looking at two different scenarios. The first scenario is you have a $100 product, you have a $50 CPA, you're hitting 2 ROAS, you spend $1,000 to get those $2,000 on sales. You're not really doing any email and SMS, you're not really focusing on it. You might have like a templated abandoned cart sequence set up because you meant to do it, but you haven't really put enough focus on it. And you've got $0 in recovery revenue. Now, this is just to illustrate a point here, okay? And let's say your break even is 2 ROAS. Well, guess what? If you've spent $1,000, you're at 2 ROAS, and your CPA is at 50, you can't actually spend more because you're going to go under your break even, right? Now, there's some front end things you can do, right? You can improve your creative, you can improve your copy, you could increase your offer, improve your offer. You could do, run some different kind of ads, right? And do A/B split testing and try and, outcompete your best ads. You could do lots of things right on the front end, but you already spent money capturing the data points and the visitors to your website, and you're not utilizing them, right? You're recovering barely any revenue at all. But in scenario 2, if you had a $100 product, your CPA was $25 to acquire a customer, you had 3 ROAS, you spent $1,000, you had no email and SMS, or you did have email and SMS, sorry. You have $1,000 in recovered revenue, your break even is 2, right? This is more or less, you can call this a return on investment, right? Because let's say that you can't directly see that your ROAS is 3 in your ad account. Let's say that your ad account says 2 ROAS, but you're able to generate more money on the back end to justify the spend on the front end. And so you come up with a kind of a return on investment, right? From start to finish in your funnel. So you can see how much your ad accounts are reporting, but then you can also see the rate at which your email and SMS revenue is growing, even your open send. Like, for example, you can see how much recovered revenue has come from capturing those identities. And that way, you're maximizing your backend data. Like, I just recently had a conversation with a brand owner and a marketing director about this because it's so crazy, like how much you can actually do in the backend to improve your sales that it almost feels like a cheat code. Like it's so easy to do because all you have to do most of the time is install an app, set up the integration, link it to whatever you need to on the back end. Whether it's like you set up your OpenSend to connect to Klaviyo, or you set up your SMS to connect to Klaviyo to send that list through to Klaviyo to then send, certain emails or SMSs, right? There's all the connections you need to set up, but that's pretty simple, straightforward. And so it only takes a very little amount of time for you to set up and recover all of that lost revenue. So that's kind of why I want to share this with you, is because like as a business owner myself and running an e-commerce company, these are things that I've directly seen as a big impact on the business's overall revenue and profitability. So that's what I wanted to kind of highlight with you guys. So let's now discuss a little bit about like how do we actually go about making copy for these things. All right. So I want to dive into a little bit and look at email SMS. I've actually got a template here for you guys as well that you can use and reference. So I'm going to pull that up here. We can take a look at this as well. But this is a proven email and SMS marketing template. These are from emails and SMSs that have proven to convert and get sales. So take these inspiration, kind of customize them based on your specific needs and your specific brand. And we found that these work extremely well. So that'll be linked down below in the description for you to download. So if we kind of look at what we need to do, we want to go into Klaviyo, we want to kind of set up our flow, right? We want to talk about our abandoned cart specifically. So we're going to go ahead and go to flows and then create flow. And then what you want to do is go into the prevent lost sales down here. You'll see there's a bunch of different options that you can select from. And so there's all sorts of different abandoned cart reminders you can set up. There's different types of browse abandonments you can also set up. But we're going to just set up an abandoned cart reminder, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit through this on, how we found setting up an abandoned cart like this works the best for us. And then one of the big things I want to touch on here, we won't spend too long on the Klaviyo because I know you guys have a lot of experience with this as well, but or you may already have an understanding about this, and this is like one of the most basic things to set up. But I really want to get into the conversational AI side of things as well to touch base with you guys on. So basically, the trigger is going to start with the checkout started, wait 4 hours, and the conditional split is going to be can receive SMS. So one thing that you can do is actually set up SMS in Klaviyo. We're not going to do this, so we're actually going to delete this step and delete the conditional formatting. And then we just got the abandoned cart email 1 and abandoned cart email 2. So we edit the email, we open up the email here, email 1, and you can just click edit on the template over here on the right. And what I would recommend is take the one of the templates here that you want to use and build them out on one of the templates in Klaviyo, right? I'm not going to go and build out a whole abandoned cart email with you in this video specifically, but reference some of the proven email structure over here. And what I want to show you is a little bit of like how you can make this customized to your business using AI as well. So it's a little bit different from the conversational AI, but I want to show you how you can do this. So let's just say we take this email 1 as the reminder, okay? Now you can use ChatGPT or Claude.ai for this. And it's very important that you have 1, details and information specifically about your brand, and 2, you have source articles or references to proven marketing fundamentals that will help kind of provide it with the structure and framework in order to create the emails that you're looking for. So let's come over here to Claude. What we're going to do is we're just going to go over and create a project, and you can do this in ChatGPT. It's called a folder. I preferred using Claude because it does better at creating copy, I believe, in my experience. So you can use ChatGPT. I'm going to use Claude here. This is what we use. Then once you go to projects, you want to click new project. We're just going to name this, let's see, we're going to name this maximize ROAS for Shopify brands. Create project. Then what we're going to do is I'm just going to type, let's see here. Here's a proven email template that I'd like to build for my brand. Copy that in right here. And then what we're also going to do is I want you to reference these 2 articles that discuss how to build out an email and SMS. So what I'm going to do is you can go online and find any particular articles that you want to reference. I'm pulling one from Shopify and then one from Klaviyo for our email here. And that's going to do some research on that as well. And basically, the last thing that you want to do is you want to give it the information you need to learn about your brand. This is very, very important. Specific about what your brand is about, who you are, your values, your core values, your slogan, tagline, any marketing materials, your offers, your products, descriptions, anything you can give it about what you're doing in your business right now. Another thing that you can do is we are trying, I'm going to say, building this email for my company, Gainetics, which you can find information about Gainetics at, and I'm also going to link the URL. Copy, paste this in, and let's see what it does, right? So this is just an example to help you guys kind of formulate an email, and let's see what it gives us. There's going to be some tweaks and stuff you're going to have to make, but it's going to go out and actually fetch all this. And this is really like what I found is this gives us a foundation. I think it's very important to mention, especially with people like yourselves who are watching this video. One thing that I really try to avoid is relying on AI, but rather using AI to build me a foundation, because we only have so much brain power in a day. And this just helps to kind of expedite that process, speed it up, and get a better understanding of like what we actually need to do to like finalize and build like a really well structured email. So let's see what we got here. So we've got your subject line options, your gear is waiting, level up incomplete, still deciding. I like this one here, level up incomplete, because it really talks to gamers. This brand that I have is with my brother is basically PlayStation and Xbox controllers. So that's very fitting. So let's come back to here. Let's see, we got your performance setup is ready when you are. You were this close to upgrading your game. Look, we get it. Big decisions take time, especially when you're investing in your performance. But here's the thing: your current setup is in your cart. It's been proven to give players that extra edge, right? Like it's actually really good, like how it's able to build this out. And so this is where I would take as a starting point to kind of structure your email campaign. So it's got different examples like best practices and additional email variations for A/B testing. So it also gives you different A/B testing, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So again, not going to go into detail about this, but I want to show you guys how simple it is to create something like this. And you could apply this for any type of email or SMS that you're building out, whether it's a denim flow or it's you're a browse abandonment, or if you SMS it's a promotion or a campaign you're doing. Like you can use this really, really well and give Claude or ChatGPT some really good source information about your brand and about what you're trying to do to produce that result. So let's jump back and let's have a look a little bit about what we can do on the SMS side. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go and actually build this out. Make sure this is all set up. So many of you already have this, but let's talk about the SMS side of things. Okay, so here we are inside TxtCart. TxtCart is a great platform that we've been using for many of the brands that we work with, who kind of make it always mandatory because it's that good. And we've recovered a lot of revenue using TxtCart. And I want to show you a little bit about how easy it is to set up, because when we talk about cart recovery on the email, that's very straightforward. But on the SMS side, there's not really a whole lot of focus that I've noticed a lot of brand owners have. That's why we implement it for any of the new brands that we start working with, it's like, do you have something set up for cart recovery on the text side of things? And most of their answers are no. Okay, because this actually has real conversations and basically objection handles for you with customers who haven't finished their checkout. So you can go and download TxtCart. The link we do down below in the description. They have like $1,000 of free credits, 14-day trial. It's stupid to not make money from doing this and just installing it. And basically what it will do is it will just send out messages to people who abandon cart. So you'll be having your email going and your messages going for like SMS. And you know how people attach to their phones is a very big part of, people's personality these days is having your phone on you. So you can see here that you can actually see the funnel of conversations that are happening. So you can see 130 conversations have happened the last 30 days on this account, 55 replies, 4 recovered, right? And this is really a great way to kind of maximize on the recovered revenue, or the revenue that comes after the website visitors, right? So when people land on your website and you want to maximize how much money you can get out of those people, this combined with email and open send as well is a great way to do that. So you can see here that it'll show you the kind of the funnel. It'll give you some insights here on the conversations, orders, and replies. You actually view all of your conversations here as well. So if you go view all conversations, I'm going to kind of cover some of this up because this is like private data, but private information. But you can go through and actually look at like messages that are sent, right? Like this person texted stop, but they ordered a product, right? Let's see if we can find something else. So right here, right, there's Frederico, right? This is Lindsay from this company. I saw you checking out this product. Great choice. Let me just see if I can get you a discount, right? I really like the toy. How much? And then it replies, I just made you a discount for 10% off. Just make sure you apply it at checkout and get you a discount. But here's the actual link to the cart. So it provides a link to the cart with the discount apply, which is crazy. So that's pretty awesome. And there's multiple examples of that happening. There's sometimes full-on conversations going back and forth with people. And it's just really a powerful thing. And it's very high leverage because you just install it with a couple of clicks and it's going to activate itself. It's going to start working. So highly recommend setting something like this up. This is going to really, really help you with improving your back-end revenue recovery. So hopefully this has kind of been really helpful for you guys to kind of understand like what it is that goes into recovering the revenue on the back end. If you guys are really looking to lift your overall ROAS or your overall ROI and you're struggling to scale and you're trying to find ways to squeeze more revenue, it's not about getting more creative. It's not about increasing your ad spend. It's not about trying to get more of your team to make more statics to run on Meta. It's about focusing on the back end of the business. And if you do that right now and you start focusing on it more than you already are for Q4, you're going to end up making way, way more money than what you are currently or what you did last year. And my intention in sharing all this with you is to bring your focus back to focusing on email and bring your focus back to SMS, introduce new ways that you can actually use this conversational AI, and you can use a tool like OpenSend to track and identify people that come to your website that you're not capturing to squeeze as much revenue out of those people as possible. And by focusing on this, I promise that your ROAS and your ROI and your business is going to grow tenfold. So make sure you get that trial for TxtCart down below in the description. $1,000 in free credits, 14-day free trial. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and let me know if there's any topics you'd like me to cover in the upcoming months. Thanks so much, and we'll talk soon.